All right, so DevOps Docker Compose to AWS. First 20-minute working segment.
It's time to do.
All right, let's do it. So where are we now? So, okay, what have we done so far, right? This came about a project, a software called Indico Events. I was looking at it for managing, managing conferences, events, and stuff like that, where it's open source software, and you can just install it with Docker Compose. So I have it running locally on my machine. I installed it on an Amazon AWS EC2 instance. However, in order to make it a little bit more maintainable and manageable, the goal was to get it installed on AWS, Amazon Web Services, ECS, Elastic Container Services, right? Well, little did we know that was going to be a major task, figuring out how to migrate or convert a Docker Compose file to a ECS task, right? So we were working on it the first time we created it. Nothing's happening. Oh my goodness, it was an absolute mess. However, towards the end of last stream on Thursday, we were able to actually get something to show up we got the Nginx server started, and it showed up. We're like, okay, we were making progress. Now, in the meantime, what I've been working, and I'm going to share the screen so you can see what I've been working on as well. But what I've been working on was migrating the definition of what's in the Docker Compose to the ECS task, right? So here's what we're going to do. I am going to share this screen right here. And of course, that is the wrong screen. Hold on, let me make sure. Why is that the wrong screen? Let's go to, I don't know why that's the wrong screen. Something weird is happening. Oops. Let's go to, let's do this. Let me figure out what's going on here with my screens. These things never stay in the right places nowadays, you know? You can only see so much, right? Let's go there. There you go. All right, so let's go here. And move that back up here. All right, so this is our Docker Compose file. Well, wrong one. Let me get the right one. This is our Docker Compose file. I had to make some modifications to it. I had to do a lot of changes to get it to work in the ECS environment, right? But basically, getting this whole file, right? This is pretty much just defining how Docker's supposed to start up the application, and I had to get this migrated to ECS. So if we look at over here, this one works. So here we have our, what do you call this? We're inside AWS. We're looking at the task definition for Elastic Container Service, and this is the one that we're working on, Nginx. Probably end up renaming it at some point. So as you can see, I have 30 revisions of trying to tinker with it to get it to work, right? Because it's like you do something, you make a little change, you try it. So that's the way that I do it. I make a change, try it, make a change, try it, make a change, try it, see what we get, right? So basically, we have all of these containers that are defined, and so we have our. I'll do it like this. Let me do it like this. I'm going to move it to the other screen so I can compare it with the, let me see, let me duplicate this. And I'm going to take that over here. So this way, by doing it this way, you will be able to see a one-to-one comparison. So if we're looking at this here, right, we have containers, which would be the services inside of our Docker Compose file. So we have the Indico Web. I'm using just the image that is pulling from Docker Hub, that get Indico. We have Indico Celery, which I'm having issues with Indico Celery, but Indico Celery just uses whatever image that Indico Web is using, which is get Indico. We have Indico Celery Beat, which is currently giving me some issues as well, but Indico Celery Beat. We have Indico Redis right here. Indigo Postgres for our database, And then we have Indigo Nginx, using the image for Nginx right here, right? On AWS Fargate, there is no configuration of the, we're not configuring the networks, so it automatically does all the networking stuff on its own. We had to configure our volumes. Let me see, is there anything here? No. So we had to configure our volumes. We started doing that last time, and that is just about everything. Also, another thing that I had to do, right? Let me go back to the other screen. If I go into creating a revision for this task, in order to, and this is something that I had no idea how to do, I learned it over the past couple of days. I had to figure out how to get a particular file inside of our Docker container. So I had to use what they call the EFS, Elastic File System. And if we go down to volume, let's see if I can show you. So these are all like the setup for our containers, but over here for the volumes. So I create all these volumes, right? Indigo logs, bind mounts, should be EFS. You know what? Maybe the Indigo logs should be EFS. Anyhow, we had the Indigo login config. So anyways, we had like, so this is where we're defining how we're mapping all of our how we're mapping. So this is saying like for the Indigo login config, use EFS. I believe for the Indigo, let me see, Indigo logging. So Indigo config EFS, Indigo. Because I think part of my issues is the whole logging part as well. Let's see. Indigo logging config. I gotta double check that. But anyways, so I had to do all of this in order to get them to start communicating. And at the end of the, I'll circle back to that, but I'll show you where we're at now. But in order to get the EFS working, I had to upload files to S3. On Wednesday's episode of Software Explorations Concept Overviews, I'm going to show you the most basic thing you can, like one of the most basic things you can do in the cloud, uploading a file to S3 storage. Very, very important, something that everybody should know, especially if you're interested in DevOps, interested in the cloud. But I had to upload a file to S3, and then I had to give it access. Then I had to do this thing called data sync to transfer the file from S3 to the file system. It was a lot. All I'm gonna say, it was a lot, and it was a lot of research trying to figure this thing out. All right, but all that to say that if we look at where we're at now, if I go over here and I go to the cluster, I go to the service, and we can go to, first we can go to the tasks. we can see that if I click on the current running task, we see that we have just about all of our tasks running, when last time we could barely get one task running. We have just about all of our tasks running except for the celery beat. And I'll show you this, right? We have our IP address. If I go to this IP address with port 8080, because last time we did port 8080, we saw the Nginx up. Now we're gonna get an internal server error, which it does suck because it's not technically working, but it is a lot further than we got last time, because last time we could not get anything to start. With that being said, if I go back over to here and I take a look at our logs, we have tons and tons of logs on logs on logs. So if I show you, we have Postgres, that's our database, that's up and running, Nginx, Redis. Where's Nginx? Oh, come on. Nginx, that's up and running. And you can see the request that we just made to the browser, it was logged. It's just that our application is not working right now. So that's why we're not seeing anything, but Nginx is working because it is tracking this information. So if I do it again, right? So right now this is at 1521. It is 1522. If I refresh again, and I go back to here and I say, and there goes the one that we just did. We just hit it right now, 1522, and it was able to log it, but it's not working. So where we're at now is a couple of things. When I go, so Indigo Celery, it is not connecting to the database for some weird reason. So I was in the process of troubleshooting that before coming onto the show. Other things, if I look at Indigo Web, it says no Python application found. So I'm troubleshooting that too. Check your startup logs. I don't even know if I have startup logs, to be honest with you, but looking into that. But what I do know is when I go to the second page, I'm able to see a bunch of errors that when I do it locally, which I can show it to you locally. When I go to it locally, I don't see those errors. So I'm not entirely sure what's happening. I'm able to trace it back to preparing the database, create the extension. But once it gets here, it starts to diverge. And then it comes, so I have a feeling that it has something to do with here. But I'm not entirely sure. But something I did find out is I can connect to the container to troubleshoot. So I'm going to be doing that as well. Let me see, anything else to say? So it gets all the way over here and I'm getting a bunch of errors that I don't get when I'm running it locally, right? A bunch of celery errors as well. So I have a feeling that it's related to celery not being able to connect to the database, because when I do go to celery, it's saying that so this command means that it is not able, or this error means that it's not able to connect to the database. I'm thinking that there's somewhere that is defined what's the URL for the database and it can't find it. That's my guesstimate. So I'm still looking into it, trying to figure out. So the documentation for this software is not the best, I must say, but I think it'll be a major, major accomplishment if we can get this loaded up and working. So that's the plan for today. That is what I am working on. Yeah, that's basically it. All right, let me get some water. And we are good to go. So that was our recap. And now we can jump into the rest of the show. All right. I think the first thing that I want to do is try to connect to the containers, run the scripts to see what errors that I'm getting to try to troubleshoot. Because if we go over to here and
What's this? Oh, it's only money.
What? We got David in the building. Shout out to David. I saw David's Trello board yesterday. Trello boards, I must say, and they are absolutely fascinating. And I found out that David is studying to be in DevOps, and I was like, you know what, David, you got to stop by the show because the things that I'm doing here, they are in your future, and you want to start getting accustomed to with them today. Let me read that super chat real quick because David, I am impressed by David. David's where. I thought it was fixed, you know. I don't know. David says, "What's up, Coach? Just wanted to stop by and support the platform. Thank you so much, David. You are truly appreciated here. And like I said, stop by, like especially on Sundays because it is right up your alley for the things that you're learning. So thank you so much for stopping by.
I appreciate you.
And I'm very impressed by all your hard work and everything like that. So shout out to you, David." All right, so like I was saying, this is what we're gonna do. I am going to pull up this right here, and let me see, which one am I gonna pull up? Actually, I'm gonna pull up in here. So I have this running through Docker Compose, and I don't have I'm not getting the errors locally that I'm getting in the cloud, right? So I'm trying to do a one-to-one comparison. Now, so with that being said, what I am going to do, I looked up, you know, and this is all about researching, trying things out, and what I am going to do is I searched for am I able to connect to a ECS container using Fargate, right? And to my surprise, I was like, oh yeah, you can. So let me pull that up real quick. All right, so if we go here to my trusty Stack Overflow, it had how are we able to do it? AWS ECS. So we have to execute this command in order to enable execute command, and then we have to connect to the Fargate task, right? So once I can, and this is similar to how you would do it with Docker Compose, which I can actually show you that as well. But I'll show you how I troubleshoot in two different instances, right? So here's what we're gonna do. We are going to, do it this way. All right, let's do these two terminals. All right, let's go here. All right, so let's go to here, right? And I have these two terminals right here. And for this one, I am going to connect to the Celery, right? So I already have it up and running. So if I do Docker PS, you see that we have all of the containers running for this application, but the one that I'm having issues with right now, or one of them I'm having issues with right now inside of Amazon is the Celery one, right? So where's the name? Let me see the name. Okay, so I'm having issues with this Indigo Celery 1, right? So I'm just gonna do docker exec -it and then the name of the container, and I'm gonna do /bin bash, right? So now I am inside the container. If I do, and I just want to do the command that's failing on ECS. So when I do this, I get a row count. It's able to connect to the SQL server, no issue, right? So here we are going to do, in this one, we're going to do what they have outlined in the Stack Overflow, and I'm going to say AWS ECS update dash service, and the cluster is, what is the cluster?
Lunch break, lunch break.
And let's finish this real quick. Indigo cluster and the dash dash task is the task ID. So if we look for the task ID over here, let's go for the task definition, and we're going to do indigo events and the task ID. I think the task ID is inside. Is it in the running service? Let me see. Indigo cluster. Here, tasks. This must be the task ID. All right, let's go with this task ID. Hopefully it's that. And then we need the container name, which is going to be, let's do the indigo celery. Actually, no, shoot, we did. I was looking at the wrong line. Hold on, let's, oh God, let me start this over. Control C, so we need AWS ECS update dash service. Dash dash cluster is indigo cluster. Dash dash service is going to be, the service is going to be this service right here. And then we need enable execute command. All right, so let's go back over here. Just finish that up real quick. Enable execute command. Let's run that. And okay. I guess that's everything for that. So we have all these details. All right. So let's do this. Let's go to break. When we come back from break, we're going to get into connecting to the Fargate task and trying to run these commands to see what happens. All right. But for now, we are at break. I'm going to check the chat and say good afternoon to everybody. And then we will get to our first break time topic. And then we're going to get back to work. All right. So